A 17-year-old was planning on bombing his high school, but that was basically discovered by one of his teachers. She found a diary that indicated that 17-year-old Derek Shrout was planning on bombing the school. She let administrators know. Administrators told authorities, and thankfully he was arrested. However, he's just been released on $75,000 bond, but he is on house arrest, fortunately. Now, we have a local news report that gives us more detail into how he was planning on bombing the school.
Had this book of plans not been carelessly left where a teacher could find it, the sheriff says no one may have discovered the plot until it was too late. After the teacher who found his journal notified authorities, police searched his home and found dozens of tobacco containers filled with shrapnel and holes drilled for fuses. Investigators say Shrout was a step away from turning them into live grenades. His explanation to them was that he had written a work of fiction and he never meant to carry out the plans in real life.
Yeah, that was his excuse. He's like, I wasn't going to do anything. I just happened to have the shrapnel tobacco cases in my home.
Yeah, I just happen to have explosives and notes on how I would use those explosives to kill specific people. By the way, shockingly, he was targeting blacks and a person he thought was gay, because it turns out that he was,
He considers himself a white supremacist. There were numerous times where he would scream out things like white power and the N-word at school, but people thought that he was just joking around, which, by the way, is kind of amazing, right? He lives in a completely different place, because can you imagine if someone's at the workplace or even at a school in California and they're just screaming out the N-word and white power and nothing happens? Like, oh yeah, he's just joking around.
But think about what a joke he is. That, like, he thinks he's being tough and he yells out white power and everybody thinks like he's got Tourette's or something. They're like that goofball. Right.
So his family is arguing that the school and authorities are overreacting because of the Newtown tragedy. This is an overreaction, even though he had the explosives in his room and he had the diary explaining how he was planning to bomb his school.
And he had cleverly put it in a military camouflage notebook carrier, where you're like, gee, I wonder what's in here. And then it turns out it's really scary stuff.
Now, some of the students are very, very distraught over this. In fact, we have one student who demonstrates just how scared he was of this situation. Let's take a look.
You ever seen this guy in school before?
I got a class with him.
And did he ever strike you as being a guy who would do something like this?
He used to look at me, but I thought he'd just look at people like that.
Did you ever see him like having problems with people before?
No. Seen him chewing tobacco though.
Yeah, we had to chew a lot of tobacco to get those containers, right?
All right, I know this is a serious story, okay, but that was the best person that you could possibly interview for this story.
Right.
Like, you're trying to get, some of the thoughts that these students are having. It's a scary situation, right? This kid could have bombed the school if the teacher hadn't have found that diary. And this guy is just like, yeah, he was chewing a lot of tobacco with his big ass LOL shirt.
Yeah, well, he's a happy-go-lucky kid. But look, so it's afterwards it seems funny because the kid seems like a joke, the person who was trying to do this.
Right.
And everybody's happy and in a good mood. Now, of course, if he had successfully done it, that happy kid that you just saw might have been dead. Right? And
yes,
so,
I know.
No, and look, and that's why, like, all this violence is no joke, man. I mean, it's one after another.
Let me just play devil's advocate because I'm curious what your response would be to this. When stories like this come up and it doesn't involve guns, the gun advocates will argue, well, what are you going to do now? You're going to ban tobacco and shrapnel? I mean, maybe banning shrapnel isn't a bad idea.
Shrapnel is some form of weaponry, but I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
No, look, if he had done this plot, some people might have gotten hurt and some people might have gotten killed. Okay? But I guarantee you 80% of those bombs would not have worked. Okay? If he went in there with an assault rifle, he probably would have killed 10 times as many people as if he tried his stupid ass tobacco bomb plot, because that's not going to be anywhere near as effective as an assault weapon. So if he had a weapon, and thank God he didn't. I mean, maybe he would have acted quicker. Maybe he would have went in right away with his weapon and killed everybody. So I'm ecstatic that those kids, or good kids, get to joke around about it and and live a happy life. Because if that guy had an assault weapon, dozens of people might have gotten killed.
Outside of our friend with the LOL t-shirt on, they interviewed a few other guys, And one of them said, he's like, man, I'm just surprised, you know, that whatever the name of that particular school was. He goes, I always figure that happens at other schools. That would never happen here. And that's the mindset for all the rest of these schools to think, oh, you know, that's what the Newtown issue was like. Oh man, not in this upper middle class neighborhood, and now, oh, not in this southern town. Oh, and not in this school, because every school has the possibility for it.
Definitely.
Yeah, when are people going to get it through their head? It could happen anywhere at any time.